youtube.com/HeflaTV. So this is the official start of the VOD, a little bit late into the draft, but either way, shouldn't impact anything really outside of that. Well then, we'll have to see where Isurus are going to take their picks from here on out. They have a lot of pickoff potential with the Batrider pulling into a Mystic Flare coming out from the Skywrath Mage, and looks like they're more than set up to go for pretty much whatever they want to go for. If they want to fall back on a Faceless Void, that wouldn't be terrible. Although they might shy away against it since you are dealing with Eventual Spirit. But now with the Witch Doctor also at their disposal, I think Void is probably one of the best heroes that Isurus could pick up. The Lion has somehow managed to slip through the cracks this game too, and I think the House is down might consider just snagging that up as their third, even though it would be somewhat greedy to have both the Venge and the Lion on the same team. Both of them offer a decent amount of stuns, decent zoning supports, a lot of impact coming out from their ultimate abilities between the Nether swap, especially up against the Witch Doctor, Batrider, Skywrath Mage, and the Finger of Death. Honestly, I don't think you could go wrong with that. Let's see what the House is down settle on, however. Disruptor. As I could be completely wrong. In fact, it's going to be the Disruptor for them. Also, another hero that works pretty well against the Batrider. He blinks in, just send him back home, glimpse him away, and just be really annoying. Static Storm, great area control coming out from the House is down, and honestly, I think we should see a little bit more Disruptor than we do currently. Disruptor going to offer the House is down a lot of control and utility, and although I still think the Lion is probably a better pick here for the House is down, why not? I think he's more than acceptable, especially if you can find an Axe Call and a group of heroes, maybe 3 heroes, follow up with Kinetic Field, Static Storm, and yeah, it's pretty much a one team fight for you. You can't do much else after that. Well then, for Isurus Gaming, that Faceless Void I was talking about earlier might not be the choice for them, as you do have the Venge to swap you out or swap allies out of the Chrono. It's not going to be entirely reliable, especially if you glimpse back or the instant silence coming out from the Static Storm to stop you from getting off that Chronosphere yourself. But honestly, I think they just have so many tools to combo with that from their supports. It wouldn't be a bad pickup at all. They'll go for the PA instead. Why not? PA is more than capable of being a carry hero in this instance, and the House is down. Since they didn't opt for that Lion, aren't going to have the best ways to deal with this PA. Their burst damage is pretty limited and mostly based on RNG from the Axe's spins. And especially since usually we're seeing the Vengeful Spirits go for more of a max wave build instead of the max magic missile, Phantom Assassin should be a pretty decent pickup here, especially if she gets an early BKB, pretty much entirely negating the Disruptor as a hero. When it comes to his actual impact on the fight and how it's going to disrupt the PA, apologies for the sniffles. You're probably going to hear that a couple more times throughout this cast. I can't mute my mic all of the time, and I am feeling a little bit under the weather. The House is down. Well, consider this next pickup for their side, and well, not exactly sure where they're going to want to go with this. Probably something a tad punchier than their first 3 heroes. Just a little bit of extra damage for their team. Honestly, I wouldn't be opposed to them picking up an Invoker, even though it's not the most common of heroes. You do have decent setup for Sun Strikes between the Magic Missile and the Venge, a call from the Axe here and there, and would give them a huge team fight that they could fall back on if it is an Exhort Invoker. But instead, they're going to settle onto the Bristleback, comboing nicely with the Vengeful Spirit, and is going to give them an incredibly tanky front line that Isurus are going to have a difficulty dealing with unless they get a couple of lucky crits or they can set up for a nice death ward from the Witch Doctor in particular. Yeah, definitely can get behind it. I'd like to see this Bristleback get a good amount of farm. If you throw him towards the offlane, it feels like he's just not going to be able to get anything at all. But if you let this Bristleback pick up that farming slack for the team, that's when he can get very scary. Get an early Vanguard up for the hero and build into some extra auras or extra tankability for those teams in team fights, and you can do a lot of work on the hero. Well then, 20 seconds. As Isurus consider this last ban, it's going to be Razor taken out. And honestly, I am not sure if it's warranting of the ban, although it is very good against PAs. So maybe this game he'd actually be able to have a high impact, but last game's Razor performance was pretty mediocre, lackluster, lukewarm. It really didn't shine. It did its job. It did okay. I don't think it really was anything special, however. But yeah, they are going to secure their Phantom Assassin with this ban, and I think in that sense it's fair enough. Templar Assassin, the ban from the house is down. I wonder what they're going to be going for as their last pickup. It's probably going to be a mid. What mids that are left in the pool are incredibly shut down by a Templar Assassin. If it wasn't banned out, I would think that they'd go for a Shadow Fiend last year, but that's just not going to be the case. It was first banned out by themselves. Invoker, the pickup for Isurus, although it's not going to be on the side I was considering. That is going to be the choice, and actually it's going to be a Tinker for the house that is down. Very interesting. Alrighty then, we'll have to see how Suggest Tinker works out this game, and oh, this Meepo definitely was very potent. Oh, yeah. Banning TA when you have a Tinker on, or as your ideal pick, or at least the pick that you're considering. Very interesting. Honestly, I think Tinker does pretty darn well against TA in lane, with the blind chance coming out from Laser, as well as the March to deal with refraction charges. Although it's not the best lane for Tinker, it's also not the worst. I probably would have been more scared of the Viper if you're looking at direct lane counters. Either way, let's introduce our teams and the players on them. Dulce going to be playing on the Batrider, looking towards the off lane. Pepita on the Invoker, potentially going mid. Phantom Assassin, played by Lulu, fullback on the Witch Doctor, and Skyrath Mage by Nadira. On the dire side of the map, we're going to have the Houses Down with Minnow, playing on the Disruptor. Zeal on the Vengeful Spirit, leaving Bristleback, played by Strafe. The Crazy on the Axe, and last but not least, we're going to have Suggest on the Tinker. As far as contention for the early bounty runes is concerned, we'll just have to see how that all settles down. But it looks like for the most part, both teams are going to be able to secure their safe lane bounty rune, and they're going to be happy with it. Batrider, however, spotted out by Minnow. He doesn't have Glimpse skilled up, and honestly, I don't think that's enough to get you the kill. Although he's going to walk straight into the Crazy. This Batrider just can't catch a break, but with Firefly, he'll be able to make it over the cliff, and should be just fine. Although, it is going to force out a little bit of mana usage to start things off. I don't think Dulce is going to be able to secure the bounty rune with this Firefly or anything of this sort. Just forced out as he needs to be careful up against THD's supports in particular. Plenty of lockdown for the Batrider. Well done. Looks like Invoker is going to be picking up the bounty in the bottom spot, and looks like they'll save the one for the Bristleback up towards top, or maybe even give it towards the Venge. Not sure if I'm a huge fan of that choice. I think Suggest probably could have made better use of it. Going to be starting out with a very stats-heavy build in the mid lane and pretty much mirroring Invokers, except he's going to be going for the Blades of Attack towards his earlier phase boots instead of for the Null Tally. It's going to be a Wex Voker for Isurus, and going to be very disruptive for THD, all things considered. You'll have Cold Snap to kite around the Bristleback, and EMP is going to be incredibly useful at stopping the Bristleback from doing very much inside these team fights. Even though he is regarded as a very tanky strength theory, relies on his ability to spam out Quills as well as the Goo to actually get his damage off for the most part. Deep ward coming out from Dulce. As he goes for the high ground warding, I am not exactly sure if I like this. It is going to spot out the large camp, but more than anything, that's about all it's going to spot. Very peculiar. We'll have to see if it actually pays off, and maybe it's just a stroke of genius. It's not an uncommon ward spot by any means, but then again, it's not common to see it this early, I think is the better way to put it. And, well, Zeal might actually know about this. He has sentries at the ready, and it looks like this ward is going to be doing nothing except for forcing the Venge from dewarding it. It's going to deny the offlane vision coming out from the bat, and she'll have one sentry left to try and deward this small camp, but man, this camp is an absolute bugger to deward. There's a lot of different spots that it could be in, and I'm not exactly sure if they spotted where the Batrider dropped it. Venge is going to disconnect, unfortunately, as we're going to have a pause, and I suppose this will give us plenty of time to take a glimpse at the other lanes. Pepita, at least to start things off, is doing very well up against Suggest in the middle lane, and quite surprisingly, but I don't think this is by any means the end-all be-all. For the Tinker, it is just going to mean that his bottle is slightly delayed. They are able to stack up for this Tinker pretty easily over in these large and medium camps in particular, as long as the Axe isn't the one farming it, which he will be very shortly, as he's going to be abandoning that off lane right about now. Even though he has a lot of regen, I don't think it's really what he wants to be doing, sitting down this bottom lane. Even though this concedes farm towards Lulu on the Phantom Assassin, I think it's probably the better choice, just to make sure that you're actually able to get the Blink Dagger and not die, which is always a concern when you're in that off lane role. Yeah, let's see. The spawns have been pretty nice to him. He has a stack of satyrs, and then he has a stack over in the large camp. Although it's going to take a lot of his HP to actually spin that one down. I think he has the ability to do it at the very least. Okay then. Well, hopefully Vengeful Spirit will be able to reconnect sooner rather than later. If we take a look at how this game progresses throughout the duration or theoretical duration of the game, we're going to be waiting for Blink Daggers up on the Batrider and Axe before we see major jumps in action from either sides and major rotations more than anything. Maybe they go mid, but Disruptor Venge, not particularly the best heroes at killing Alpha Invoker, even though they'll have some detection more or less, or they should have detection to kill off that invo. The damage that they have is pretty limited, unless this is a laser rocket Tinker, which might very well be the case. We'll just have to see. Tinker has yet to actually skill up anything for his level 2 mark. As the game goes later, the BKB will come out from the Phantom Assassin. At that point, the Phantom Assassin is pretty invulnerable to THD's ability to actually bring her down. March not going to bother at all. Neither is most of the other spells coming out from THD, although they might be able to CC here with a call here or a swap here or there. Their damage is going to be pretty limited. Bristleback not going to be able to reliably hit that Phantom Assassin. At that point, Isurus might be able to actually start pushing, but as we saw last game, maybe they're just going to try and farm up and wait until Lulu is completely out of control before they do so. We'll just have to see. Back into the here and now as we go back looking at the Batrider towards the top lane. His stacks aren't developed as the axes are inside the jungle, but definitely something these supports are going to consider. Currently, fullback is busy operating a pull through, and well, this will keep the lane under the tower for Lulu, and he should be able to keep that at the spot for the most part. At least for now, Tinker is actually not leveled up March or not leveled up Rockets at all, not deciding which one he wants. Dulce glimpse back, and it looks like this is going to be our first blood. He tries flying up towards the north, but he just can't get away from the Bristleback. The goo and the quills are going to be enough to draw Mino the first blood here. And again, it's going to be on a Batrider in the offlane, just finding himself in a very awkward corner against 3 heroes, and it does happen, honestly, once you get level 2. More often than not, you probably should just back off into the jungle and farm up stacks that your supports have prepared for you, or that you will prepare for yourself later down the line. First blood now off of the table. Now we're probably not going to be seeing much killing for the near future, as both of these offlaners are quickly becoming junglers. Sorry about that, I was muted in mid. They'll find the kill onto the Tinker with the EMP Cold Snap combination coming out from the Invoker and a nice rotation coming out from Isurus. I was muted because I was just sneezing, what have you. So yeah, you didn't actually miss anything that I was saying. But at the very least, you didn't miss the kill. Tinker is now going to be on the sidelines, and really this hero is just not off to a good start. And although his comeback potential is there with the jungle for now, he has an axe filling that one up. Actually stacked up 3 times. They might not actually be giving that one towards the axe after all. And maybe just wait for the Tinker to march that one down, but we still have yet to see what Suggest wants to go for. As far as his build is concerned, still not leveling up anything. Very interesting. He doesn't have any points in his stats. 3 on all 3 from the Dual Talisman, as well as 1 on all 3 going out from the branch. They'll glimpse back Pepita. The Mino under the tower is going to be the first to die. Pepita does lose his life to the Rockets. They suggest is going to commit 2 points into that beforehand, making a 1-for-1 trade, favoring THD, as all they lose is that support disruptor. Making this game pretty darn even, if you ask me, although that is going to make up for Tinker's subpar start. He goes for boots instead of going for the bottle earlier on, but should be able to get that bottle up sooner rather than later. I suggest we'll be able to come back into this game. The Bristleback and PA more or less free farming, although the Batrider being inside the lane is going to be a little bit more annoying for the Bristleback than having the Accent lane for the PA. Yeah, it's pretty much even. The Crazy only poking his head over in the bottom lane because it was pushing in, making sure they secure some extra experience instead of going for those jungle camps that he could, in theory, farm. Level 5 after the axe. This is pretty scary. He might actually be able to find some kills. We have a pause called out by the Tinker, and a very awkward time to pause it is, too. What? Hopefully that was not intentional and that was a misclick. But either way, we have a smoke coming out from the Witch Doctor as well as the Skywrath Mage wrapping around on the Tinker, and I've seen this gank before. Let's see if it's going to succeed. Suggest is up on the high ground, not showing his face yet. It's just not safe to go. And for now, the Invoker is going to be farming up, and well, Tinker, he shows his face in the lane. I think this might be his death sentence. Or is it? Full back in Nadera still haven't made a move yet. They bring the Batrider to a 4-man gank in the mid. They'll open up with the Tornado that misses and Suggest he's fine. That is a lot of time spent by Isurus. If they use that, doesn't actually get them any kills, or even close to it. Suggest going to escape death, if only narrowly. Could have gone a lot worse for him. Big stack up for the Batrider. It looks like that's a quad stack here. 2 chickens. No, actually 5 stack. No. That is a 4-stack. Excuse me. Either way, Dulce is going to mop this one up. Accelerating towards a Blink Dagger will be wonderful for him. The smoke that failed by Isurus previously is going to be mirrored by one by THD, and maybe this time it's going to work out. Both supports have been spending the majority of their time looking towards this mid lane, as really their safe laners don't mean much assistance. And actually, that's an enemy stack the Batrider's farming up. This is actually huge for him, and he's doing it inside the smoke. That's Dulce taking away a lot of Tinker's comeback potential. I thought that was his jungle, excuse me, but that's huge. Zeal, as well as the Disruptor, not actually able to find anything. The Batrider makes it up towards the south, and he is also going to survive after taking out all of that gold away from the enemy team. And he still has to stack up in his own jungle for him to mop up a little bit later on. That stack now down the drain is going to be really problematic for THD. That's a lot of gold. That cannot be underestimated. That's pretty much akin to the Aquila steal that we saw in the last game. Except for this time, it's Batrider to be diving into the bling rather than Lion picking up a fancy new ring. Bristleback is going to put some pressure on the tier 1 tower up in top, whereas Phantom Assassin puts some on the one in bottom. But for the most part, we're really not seeing much rotations outside of this mid lane. This is definitely the place to be, as both teams want to secure themselves a decent advantage there. And for now, it's Isurus to come ahead in most of these lanes. Their Batrider getting a lot of gold through his jungle farming, as well as stealing that jungle stack away from the enemy, as well as having an Invoker and Phantom Assassin that are out-farming their counterparts on the enemy side. The plus side for THD is that they have a jungling axe with Tranquil Boots, but really it's going to be a lot up to the Crazy to actually make something happen with this Blink Dagger that his team is sacrificing quite a bit to get him. He does have level 6, so maybe even without the Blink Dagger at the ready, he can try and make something happen and get some kills of his own. But we'll have to see if that actually comes to fruition for him. We have a double damage rune down towards bottom, but that's about all she wrote. Axe is going to assist in this tier 1 tower push with the Bristleback, just cutting the wave and doing the best he can to take this down ASAP. And it looks like they're going to be able to do so as Batrider continues to farm up even more stacks. This is going to be a pretty darn fast Blink Dagger up for the Bat, although not the fastest I've seen. It's going to be completely acceptable, especially after giving out first blood. Dulce mops it up, and yeah, that's going to be your level 6 as well for the Bat himself. It is going to be a Soul Ring build for the Tinker, pretty standard stuff coming out from him, but without the stack to farm up, honestly, I half expected him to go for the Boots of Travel first instead of going for the Soul Ring. You don't really come online until you have both of those items, but at the very least you'd be able to offer to ganks with the 2 points in the laser and 2 points in the rocket. Well, for now we're kind of stalled out again. 2-2, the kill score isn't necessarily high. Suggest going to bottle himself up a handful more times before picking up an illusion rune, and actually refreshes and then Axe picks it up. That was interesting. Did he pass the bottle over the Axe? I think he must have, as the bottle is completely refreshed. I missed that. Maybe I just need to take a nap. I'm not doing that well. Either way. Batrider is getting very close to that blink, and he is going to have it after just a couple more jungle camps. As long as he doesn't die to these neutrals, he should be just fine. And there's your Blink Dagger money for Dulce. Although he's going to have to make a base trip before he actually comes back out to the field of battle. This is the hero to watch over the next couple of minutes, where he's actually able to find the kill. Those Axe Illusions, not exactly sure what they've done so far. It looks like they've helped out the Tinker with farming up his handful of stacks, and it is going to propel Suggest over towards his Boots of Travel that he desperately needs. That first Blink Dagger gank coming out for the Batrider is still in the making. He's taking quite a while to do it, as THD are going to beat him to the chase. They smoke up with the supports as well as the Axe. Even with no Blink Dagger on the Axe, they might be able to find some tasty kills. In particular, Pepita under his tier 1 tower. Bristleback has completely made top lane his home, and really not much the Witch Doctor can do to dislodge him, as the Crazy is looking towards mid. They'll try to dive Pepita, potentially. Let's see if they're going to be able to be successful. Get vision of him. The tornado comes out, as does the EMP. The Crazy's able to get the call off first, but with no mana to get the dunk, it's not going to be the easiest of kills, but they have plenty of damage. Disruptor going to be able to notch it, even though it costs Tinker a large chunk of his HP, doesn't matter. The Bristleback in the meantime up towards top, going to eat the Batrider Blink gank for the first time, even though it drops Dulce very low, it works out for them, and they'll be able to take him off of the map. 3 to 4 is going to be our kill score after the fact. The Witch Doctor also dives up towards top. Bristleback not going down without a fight. It's going to be the completed Vanguard. It's sub 10 minutes in for him. Whereas the Phantom Assassin looks to be building a Battle Fury, but more than anything, this game looking incredibly close. The Blink Dagger up for the Axe is going to be there very shortly. It looks like his Tranquil Boots are still under his feet, exactly where he wants them. Actually, haven't lost those yet, or shouldn't lose those ever, but hasn't lost them, and is going to be just fine. Alrighty then. THD, or just waiting for the Stinker to actually come online. Suggests not having a great game, all things considered, compared to the Invoker. A little bit less in the CS department, but is still going to be a thorn in the enemy's side. 3 points up in the march, more than enough to keep these lanes pushed out, and once he has those boots of travel, it's going to be a global nuisance. Global nuisance. Alrighty then, no aggressive rotations coming out from either side. It looks like both teams are just going to stack up and, well, farm for the next couple of minutes. Not something that's alien at the very least. They'll drop the Bristleback in bottom, which is pretty interesting. Up against the Phantom Assassin, we'll be able to put a little bit of pressure after being propelled towards this very early Vanguard. Not much the Phantom Assassin can do alone, especially to this Bristleback. But with the Batrider Lasso at the ready, as well as with the Skywrath Mage and his Mystic Flare, maybe they can actually kill him off, but only if the Venge isn't close. Well, speaking of the Venge, she's actually only level 4, so scratch that. No, not going to have that Nether swap at the ready to save the Bristleback, but at the very least, a Magic Missile to delay shouldn't be enough, actually. It looks like Bristleback's in a whole heap of trouble. The Batrider and company are coming in from the left. Firefly, not going to be dropped by Dulce. They've been spotted out by a Dire Warden. Looks like THD are going to try to back off. The lasso up the Venge and drop her low. They're not going to commit the Mystic Flare for this one. She throws in the Magic Missile, but that's all she can do. The Mystic Flare's dropped, but doesn't do that much damage to the Bristleback. Now the turn with the Disruptor, dropping his ultimate. Now Nadero is going to be bopped down by Bristleback, dropping 200 HP, but he's going to be completely fine. Had 13 wand charges anyway. 4 to 5 the kill score, 1 to 1 support trade, and honestly I expected a little bit more. It'll leave the Tinker and the Invoker to fight it out inside mid with the Cold Snap on the Tinker. He's dropping low, but now with the Blink in called, he'll turn on to Pepita. Pepita chop down. That's going to be cold, and a very easy one too. And well, Tinker is going to be blessed by Gaben as he gets himself a regeneration rune and almost enough money to pick up those Boots of Travels. Not the fastest Boots of Travels, but also not the slowest. He's looking pretty darn good after that nice turnaround. Crucial that the Axe is there. Couldn't have come any later. Absolutely not. Well, yeah, that's pretty much going to be the state of the game. Boots of Travel are going to be the Tinkers, going to be able to constantly push out these lanes for THD, and well, just make sure that Isurus are kept at arm's length. Their ability to actually push out lanes is pretty low. Their wave clear is not that great at all. Once Phantom Assassin gets the Battle Fury, that is going to be remedied somewhat, but for the most part, Suggest is going to be able to make this map his home over inside the Radiant Woods. We're going to see Axe find himself a Batrider, and he'll be dunked down as the Crazy going to find himself yet another kill. Bristleback going to eat a lot of damage to this Witch Doctor ultimate, but isn't even enough. He has some wand charges, and the Vanguard's keeping him pretty darn healthy from the right clicks of the Invoker at the very least. He hides over the sideline, spans out a couple more quills, and now going to look to turn on the Pepita. Pepita, who with so many stacks of those quills, 6 stacks in fact, he's going to die just one more. The damage doesn't come out. It's actually Tinker to kill off the Witch Doctor, and now with Cole, it's going to be a double or a killing spree for the Crazy as he mops up the Skywrath Mage. 2 supports dying as the Bristleback chases away the Invoker. And although he survives, it's not going to be a comfortable survival for him at the very least. THD are going to take a tier 1 tower as their victory here, and it really feels like THD are controlling the map very effectively and doing a better job than Isurus were last game of riding this momentum. We'll just have to see if they're able to keep it up. Right now, this momentum has brought themselves into about a 3,000 net worth advantage and similar in the experience graphs for their team, and looking pretty good all things considered. Well then, I think from here on out, tier 1 tower in mid looks to be a pretty likely choice for them to go for, or maybe they wait for a pickoff or two before they actually snag that one up. Okay then. Well, THD are going to pull back, at least for the time being, but hopefully not for too long, at least for their sake. They'll find another Axe Illusion rune, and these Axe Illusions are absolutely great for clearing out the jungle. We'll be able to spin, especially at this camp. This camp is not going to stand there for very long, and probably should throw that illusion over towards the large camp pretty shortly. As soon as Axe spots it out, or maybe even he cuts the creep wave down towards bottom. Either way, it's going to ensure a little bit more CS for that hero. He has a smoke, and we'll have to see where the crazy is going to end up next. Well then, looks like it's going to be delayed a little bit. There is some vision up towards top, and maybe they'll think of killing off this Invoker and Witch Doctor. I'm not sure if they know the Witch Doctor is there, but I assume he's walked past this region of the map sooner rather than later. They'll smoke up in mid, and it looks like that's going to be the call immediately as they look towards the top lane with the majority of their heroes. Tinker will continue to push out the side lanes and make things look not super suspicious. Maybe they're just farming up their jungle, Isurus will say. But now Witch Doctor smells something up. He's going to hide over in the trees. Can they actually find him? Pinged out by the Witch Doctor. He knows the TP was coming in, and now they look towards the Invoker. Invoker is not in the right place at the right time. He's going to get blink called, and they'll be able to bring him down, chopped down by the axe. Is crazy. Finds himself a dominating spree, and now they look for a little bit more. And that little bit more might be a tier 2 tower in the top lane if they keep on going, or maybe they find themselves a couple more kills. The Batrider and the Skyrath Mage are looking for pickoffs in the meantime, but they find the hero that they probably can't actually kill. They might try onto Strafe, but honestly I think that's a little ambitious. With about 1500 HP as well as the Crimson Guard, your damage just isn't actually enough to 100 to 0 him, and the threat of backup is omnipresent. Witch Doctor showing himself in lane. Fullback also needs to exercise a little bit of caution. The axe is going to show himself, blinks in. Oh my goodness, the camera is not moving. They look for the call. It's actually not going to connect onto fullback, but they swap him back in, and he's going to be dropped down. Right clicks from the axe are going to do him in, or maybe that was the level 1 into the, battle order. That's going to be enough. TP's back in. The Batrider was potentially looking for the bristleback, but actually not going to happen. He picks himself up a bounty rune for his trouble, but Dulce, yeah, just not a place that he can actually be, or a hero that he can kill. Really want to find out the Tinker, ideally, as even though he is usually fairly elusive, going over into the trees, especially once those Blink Daggers, or Blink Dagger is up for the Tinker. With a Firefly Vision coming out from the bat, you usually can kill him off. But 0, 2, and 2, Dulce, even though he found himself a decently timed Blink Dagger, hasn't been able to do much with it. Even though there's a lot of damage coming out from these supports, just not finding those right opportunities. You have a Phantom Assassin with the Battle Fury, so maybe there's some hope for the PA to push out these lanes. But honestly, without a BKB, she's going to be having a hard time, especially up against the Tinker. His burst combination is doing a ridiculous amount of damage at this point. Currently sitting at level 2 in the laser, 160 pure is not to be underestimated, especially when dealing with a blind chance on this PA. EMP Tornado combo going to be attempted in mid, but doesn't actually net them anything. With the Batrider so low, honestly not sure they can go for any more. Fullback eats one rocket and is already chunked down more than a third of his HP. Tier 1 tower in mid looks like it's going to be entirely forfeit, as yeah, the bristleback actually just doesn't care. He'll get Witch Doctor cast to the face as well as Maledicted, but just taking not enough damage. The kinetic field, unfortunately, for THG isn't going to lock down the Invoker, so they aren't able to get a kill after the fact. But still looking pretty good. 4 to 11, THD find themselves continuing with this momentum. Although it's slowed down a little bit for them, still maintaining their lead. The Phantom Assassin down towards bottom would be a wonderful target for them, but with the double damage rune as well as level 11, not the easiest of kills. If she gets those lucky crits, you might lose one in the process, but still, they're going to take a tier 2 tower down towards the bottom lane, or at least that's what they're setting up for. They're invading the enemy woods, and this is really problematic for Isurus. There's not much that they can actually farm at this point. Currently, they're limited to any lane farm that crosses where the tier 1 towers once stood, and that's just not very much on this map. Batrider is going to continue hunting, and it's actually going to be a boots to travel build for Dulce. I think that's completely fine just to make sure that he's available to gank the Tinker, but Batrider, I think he needs to step his game. He needs to find out this boat pushing suggest. Let's see if they're going to be able to succeed in that, as the rest of THD is still hunting in the woods. They'll avoid an EMP from the Invoker, but that's about it. Batrider cuts the creep waves and now shows his face. to those creeps. They'll be able to scare maybe a little bit of tower damage with this, but honestly, I think keeping himself off the map might be a little bit more threatening for the Tinker especially. THD will continue to move down towards bottom, 4-staff forward by the Crazies. He wants to find himself a nice nook. We'll look for that blink call in, and we'll have to see if he's going to be able to find that opportunity. The rest of his team will clear up the creep wave as Tinker defends up top, and he'll be able to succeed. They actually don't go for that at this point. Honestly, after so much rigmarole and setting up in the top lane, I think they kind of needed to. The March of Machines is just proving to be too much, and the tier 2 tower in bottom is going to be forfeit because of this. Even if Isurus got that tier 1 up top, I honestly don't think it's going to matter that much. Tier 1 is probably going to be taken a little bit before this tier 2, but it is going to be a straight up trade. I don't think they can do both. They do get the destruction by the Phantom Assassin, blinking from the axe, looking for blood. He might be able to find it, although he's dropping low. Crit down! Skywrath Mage gets the last hit, as that's the mega kill down the drain. Witch Doctor gets the tower denial. And, well, things are looking good for them, but not anymore. Pepita going to be glimpsed back, and now into the loving arms of the Bristleback and company. He's going to be dropped down. It's all around the map, a 2-for-1. Tower denied by the Witch Doctor, so pretty even, all things considered. But then again, the Axe also lost his spree to the Skywrath Mage. Although not ideally the hero that's going to pick it up, it is going to afford Skywrath Mage a Staff of Lucidity, presumably for a 4-staff of his own. Well, for now, THD are going to find themselves with a little bit less momentum as their axe has fallen. But at a certain point, they can consider going for Roshan. Their team is pretty decent at taking it. Minus armor from the Venge, as well as from the goo of the Bristleback, and you also have the Medallion up for Zeal. So it looks like they're going to secure themselves an Aegis. Who they give it to is another story entirely. Although Suggest isn't going to be doing that much damage with the March to Roshan himself, it is going to dissuade Isurus from actually coming in. And I suppose you might as well. He'll be back home or ready to fight sooner rather than later, but at least for now, THD are going to back off. You're fighting in a Roshan pit, after all, up against a Batrider, if that was the case. But honestly, I think they could have stuck around a little bit longer. I think this speaks just to the fact that they don't have that great observer vision on of the enemy. Right now, they have this ward, which is pretty nice when you're going for the tier 2 tower push to stop you from being flanked by the Batrider and just spotting rotations, but honestly, it doesn't feel like that's enough. Again, they're going to go into the Roshan pit as soon as the Witch Doctor shows himself up towards top and the Invoker's Skywrath in mid. They'll feel a lot more comfortable now, and rightfully so. It looks like they're going to be able to take it this time around. Well then, looks like THD are going to be able to get that second life. Who's clearing out the slot, I wonder? Looks like it's going to be the Bristleback. Oh, the complete S&Y here up pretty shortly, too. The Crazy needs to be a little bit careful if he claps. Roshan is going to do quite a lot of damage, but not enough. We have Venge, pausing the game. I've kind of learned to expect this, but, well, there you have it. We're currently freeze-framed at a moment right as the Roshan falls, and the Aegis is going to be claimed by the Bristleback. With this Aegis, it really feels like THD can go down mid lane, go down top lane, and find themselves... Where's the Tinker TPing from? Holy cow. Is that the same sound? Okay, yeah it is. Okay, I just didn't see the particle effects on the tower. Apologies for that. I actually didn't know. But either way, it really feels like THD are going to be able to ride the momentum coming out from this Aegis and really do some irreparable damage to just the side of the map. You have the, excuse me, workings of a BKB on the PA, but it's not enough. You only have the Ogre Club and enough gold for the recipe. You need 1,600 gold before you can really effectively fight up against THD, and even then, not going to be immediately enough. THD looking up towards top with a potential call into Pepita, and he holds on to it. The Crazy, I'm not exactly sure why you wouldn't call there. They might be setting up for a glimpse, but it looks like Invoker's home free due to the compassion of the axe. Yeah, we'll put it that way. The Crazy just not going to pull that trigger. Maybe expecting a little bit more. They didn't see very many of the enemy heroes on the map. Again, we'll go back to the vision. Their only ward is pretty useless. Mid lane, Adair going to be forced to straight up TP out as the Bristleback is a beast at this point. Yeah, actually can't fight that thing. Strafe is going to force out that one TP rotation and Suggest is going to continue strangling the bottom lane and pushing it onto the side of Isurus. Right now, it feels like what Isurus need to do is that they just need to wait until they have that blinking bar up from then they can, or Lulu, then they can fight pretty effectively. This Invoker, going for a pretty interesting build, in fact, has gone for a Necrobook and a Midas on a Quaswex Invoker. Usually I look to see more control items coming out from the Quaswex Invoker just to make sure that you're actually able to stop the enemy team and look for kills, but really it feels like most of what Pepita's been doing is dying. 0, 5, and 2. I can't say that he's really had a positive impact on this game more often than not. So we'll just have to see if he's able to come back and work with this Midas. I can't really say that I like it. If you're going to go for this build, I think the Exhort build would have been a lot more useful, as you could at least help when the Batrider is going for ganks. Up towards top, they're collapsing on the Batrider. He's over in the sidelines. I'm not sure if they spot the Firefly out or know where this Batrider is, but Dulce is going to be able to make it out. With 4-staff Blink, he is very slippery to catch. Up towards top, THD, looks like they're going to set their sights on this tier 2 tower. They'll have to wait for creeps before they can actually start damaging it, but it looks like they're going to be given this one freely by Isurus, as they're just not really in a position to defend. And, well, we'll just have to see. Sorry, I'm muting myself again. I have to sneeze. Well then, back to the game. Tier 2 tower up towards top is going to be falling, although they do left it to delay a little bit longer. It's not going to be enough. Mid lane, potential action, rainbow of TPs, and glimpse back onto the poor Witch Doctor. He's obliterated by the Dagon combination coming out from the Tinker, and he's completely gone. The Crazy does have a Blink Dagger cooling down as the Bristleback is going to force Nadera to TP out, but it's not going to be enough. Bristleback is going to be able to bash him down. We have yet another pause. I have no idea what's going on with THD and why they're pausing so much, but hopefully they're able to sort everything out. It seems that everything's going alright. Looks like the Crazy is having some sort of problems. 10 FPS. I can't say that that's really playable. Maybe that's the reason why I missed the call up towards stop. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I don't think there's really anything that you can do about that. We are going to have the good to go coming out from Axe, and well, hopefully it holds. I'm not exactly sure what the pause rules are for JDL, and well, I think it will be only until we see an admin call before we actually know. THD going to look for a tier 2 tower in mid, and you might as well. The one up towards top was easy enough to get and pretty much free. In fact, Batrider up towards top, obliterated by Suggest. He'll be able to Dagon him down with level 2 into that Dagon with the Blink Dagger. Just so much chasing power, and we'll be able to do so. Tier 2 tower in mid, going to suffer a similar fate to the Bat as he gets it gets bashed down by the Bristleback and company. It's going to be THD to seize complete control over this map, and the Phantom Assassin still has yet to find enough gold to get that Black King bar, and she's really close to it, but honestly, well, it looks like they're losing too much to actually do this. Glimpse back, trying to find a kill. They are going to drop Kinetic Field, and Tinker assassinates the Witch Doctor. Ultimate from Skyrath completely messing, and now he's gooed up as Nadera is going to be bashed down by the Bristleback, dunked down by the Axe. Doesn't actually get that kill. The Coney Blade now put on cooldown as he's a little bit premature with it, but doesn't matter. Strafe is completely unstoppable, as lackluster as his Razor performance was in game number 1. This Bristleback is a completely different player, or a completely different hero for him. It definitely feels like he wants to be very dominant. He's able to do so. They'll get a lasso back on Avenge. That's the only target that they can feasibly go for, and it looks like they'll be able to succeed. They have the BKB up on the Phantom Assassin and trying to kill off Zeal, and they will be able to do so. And the Bristleback is not going to be sitting on the Aegis for much longer. It will be reclaimed in about 20 seconds or so. So that's enough to force THD back. They don't breach high ground, but then again, it's to start getting anything in the meantime, as the Tinker is completely pressuring in the map. So even though that's an important kill, and they do get a decent chunk of gold from it, even if it's just a support, they're still not in control of this game, and they're a long ways away from being in that point, or at that point. Axe farming up inside the jungle. There's really nothing they could do to dislodge THD. There's your Aegis reclaim by the Bristleback. He'll enjoy a full restore, but nothing else. Nadera just needs to be so careful. He's currently alone, and the Axe has spotted out a handful of enemy heroes at the very least. The Phantom Assassin will Stifling Dagger him. Paralyzing Cask will bounce through, but 4-staffed up to the high ground. It looks like Isurus actually can't go for much more. Now they're bringing the Tinker. The Rockets are going to fly. Nadera trying to TP out. He can't do it! The Dagon Burst from Suggest is too much. And, well, that's a similar story. The Bristleback that we've seen time and time again force out that Skyrath TP. This time he has some backup from the Tinker. And now that backup is going to get even scarier. We have a Dagon level 5 if I'm not mistaken, and indeed we do so. Phantom Assassin BKB, although it's nice and all, it's not going to be up enough. And my goodness, that Witch Doctor, you just can't go anywhere to Suggest. He's wicked sick. And rightfully so. Melee Barracks going to be focused by THD, and it looks like they're going to be able to take it pretty handily with not much of a fight. Swap back, call onto the Phantom Assassin, although they can't actually focus it down properly with that BKB. She's going to try to fight and turn. She is going to drop down Zeal, and now look towards the Crazy. Dulce is trying to find a lasso, but he's inside the stack. Stormy gets dagged down by the Tinker. Forced down to the low ground. It looks like he was panicking, and so is the Crazy. It looks like he might be feeling the experience of lag. Melee Barracks still hasn't fallen, and there's still some hope for Isurus, but can they actually get this pig? I'm not exactly sure what it is. Bristleback out of their base. The rockets are just too much, and Lulu is going to drop very low. The Witchstrucker's channeling his ultimate, but even so, just look at how much damage he's actually taking. Maledict is going to do a decent amount, but not enough. It's only a level 3 Maledict, and it doesn't seem that Bristleback cares much. Dagon Assassination attempted on Pepita, but with no detection onto the Tinker, can't actually find that kill. And yet again, we have a pause, but this time it's because, well, the axe has disconnected. I would expect that THD might resume, or they might have to resume because of pause rules, but for the time being, at the very least, they're not going to be able to do much. Well, my god, definitely so. Looks like that's a pretty stable, or not really stable, what's the word I'm looking for? Accurate portrayal of this scenario. I'm really struggling to find my words here, apologies there. But the Melee Barracks stands, and it looks like Isurus are actually going to be able to defend, as Strafe doesn't seem to want to go back in, although they do have creeps in the base, and I think he could suicide for it if he really wanted to. With the extra damage coming out from Warpath and a handful more stacks of that, I think he could get it, although it would cost him his life. If that is what he wants to do, I honestly think that's probably worth it. This Melee Barracks is going to regen up all of the work that they put into it, and well, it looks like that little bit of split focus might be costing them that advantage that they theoretically could have. But then again, you could also just play it passively, wait out for the Tinker, wait out for another Aegis, why not? It's going to be coming up pretty shortly anyway. And rinse and repeat. Exactly how shortly we don't know for sure. By looking at this clock, it is going to be like a minute 20 before we see that proper respawn timer, or at least a theoretical respawn is going to be in a minute 20 to 4 minutes 20. About. Alrighty then, I'll try to not look at mid, as we don't want to have to listen to these TP sounds for the rest of the day. Alrighty then. Well, we'll just wait for Axe to get his stuff together. Then it looks like he has reconnected, so hopefully this fixes everything. I honestly have no idea what's going on with the Axe and his internet, and with THG in general, the Venge also having problems. Alright, so THD, hopefully we'll be able to unpause shortly. Please, fingers crossed. That Aghanim Scepter on the Disruptor, although I neglected to talk about it, is absolutely huge if they're able to get that off, and if they can stop Phantom Assassin from popping her BKB, it really feels like that's pretty much it. Good to go comes out from Zeal, and well, we'll get back into this game as soon as possible. And well, as soon as possible, it means as soon as Isurus says it's good to go, and they will do so. Suggest is going to be slowed up by the Invoker, and is going to need a cold snap and the damage from the creeps, and it looks like they are going to commit to this Melee Barracks. They'll get it. Now Strafe trying to run away. They don't blink in with Phantom Assassin. They might lose Mina on the way out, but it looks like Bristleback's fine, but no! The Dagon Blast coming out from the Tinker obliterates the Invoker. You just can't catch a break. Well, Tinker is going to have to take the long way back to base, or at least wait until his Boots of Travel are back up. The Blink Lasso I'm suggesting they are going to lose this Tinker, but he buys a couple of panic TPs. I mean, why not? Drop him in base, give him to somebody else in need. And by somebody else in need, I mean one of the supports. You're going to lose that gold anyway, or probably would have lost that gold. I believe most of his gold was unreliable. Well, there it be. THD are down their Tinker for 50 seconds, but honestly that's not enough, and most crucially, they have already gotten that Melee Barracks in the middle lanes, so THD are going to be pretty comfortable going through this game, all things considered. Fullback going to bump into Zeal. Going on a deep warding mission might be costing him his life. He has some backup coming in from the Batrider, but then again, the Vengeful Spirit herself has some backup in the form of the Crazy. They'll Firefly up to the high ground, but really it looks like that's going to be about it. Cultural Priest is going to be burned down to the ground, but that's all that was lost. We have a call over in the sidelines. They find themselves in Adara, and Adara is going to be chopped down mercilessly by the Crazy. And, well, he's been doing quite a good job, too. THD just aren't giving very many opportunities for Isurus to actually come back to this game, and really are strangling them. I think this is a difference between both of these teams. Although the THD are a little bit more momentum-based and need to get it, or more than Isurus do. It really feels like they're better at securing the leads, but I mean, you can't really base that off of one series that I've actually seen with this lineup coming out from THD, but so far, they've been looking pretty darn good. Suggest especially on the Meepo, looking pretty darn solid. Definitely a team to look out for, at least in the South American Tier 2 scene. Tinker going to blink away, and it looks like he's going to make himself scarce away from the Invoker. I'm still not sold on this Necro build coming out from Pepita, although it's very nice in combination with the Gold Snap. It just doesn't save you. Witch Doctor going to be obliterated by the Bristleback. All he wanted to do was to D-ward. Can't you just give him that little bit of extra joy? But not going to be the case. They'll save their vision and, well, get a free Witch Doctor while they're at it. That's an Assault Cuirass all the way finished up for the Bristleback, as if he wasn't hard enough to kill already. The magic damage coming up from Isurus is okay, I suppose, especially for the Skywrath Mage. Up towards the top, Tinker going to die to the Invoker, and it looks like he's going to put that Necrobook to good use. Pepita, that combo does a surprising amount of damage, but in the meantime, THD will take the Roshan, and they'll take it out pretty quickly, as we've already seen with the minus armor coming out from the Medallion, and all of those other sources that they have at their disposal. Finally, we have a Basher up for Lulu. So maybe, just maybe, if they're lucky enough, they can take a fight. But honestly, I think THD can pretty much push this 4v5. And then once the Tinker respawns, he can TP in with those Boots of Travel. But if they find a pick-off beforehand, honestly, they might not even have to wait for him. The Phantom Assassin and Witch Doctor are looking mighty juicy if they can actually spot them out. But not going to be the case, at least for now. They'll cut the creep wave and continue pushing up. The Crazy is looking mighty juicy for a jump in from the Phantom Assassin with the Bat Rider, but he has more than enough backup in reserve if they actually pulled the trigger there. So the Crazy is going to live to dunk another day. And, well, THD, they'll wait for this Tinker. He's going to be coming back up in just a handful of seconds. That pickoff really not going to do much. Swap back. They find themselves a Disruptor, and they'll be able to kill him off. But then again, Lulu might lose her life. This could be huge, and indeed will do so. That Aghanim's Disruptor ulti doing a lot of work. The Crazy dropping low, but not low enough. The Tinker coming in, assassinating the Witch Doctor, and still doing work. Dunking to the Skywrath Mage. Now they chase down Dulce. Dulce dropping low with rockets flying through, and just a couple more quills. That's all they'll need, and Dulce is going to be bashed down. Bristleback finds himself a mega kill spree, and it's a 2 for 4. All they lose is the 2 supports for THD, and they can keep on going. Bristleback not even close to losing even 200 of his HP. Yeah, Strafe is a juggernaut, and honestly, I think giving that Aegis to the Tinker might have been a little bit better for them, even though he is pretty strapped for slots to put those items in. THD will push bottom much as they pushed mid, and with no buyback on the Phantom Assassin, no buyback on the Bat Rider, it really feels like they're going to be able to make this a 2-lane barracks advantage, if even that. They might even be able to find more. Pepita throws a cold snap away of the axe, but nothing else. And Pepita, I don't think he can do this himself. Tier 3 tower is going to be taken out by THD, and pretty quick time. The melee barracks and range barracks should be pretty soon to follow. Their supports have respawned, and at least for now, they're going to back off, as it just needs to refill up on mana and health, but I think they'll just wait for the next creep wave. What does this Bristleback have to fear? He has double life after all. Honestly, I think THD are playing this a little bit too passive. But maybe they can lull Phantom Assassin in just a little bit more. Maybe they can find a kill, but then again, with this Isurus on the high ground, the Phantom Assassin shouldn't be caught out. They'll just be content taking that tier 3 tower. No need to take risks, really. They're in control, and they don't want to risk losing that. Currently a 12,000 net worth advantage, and experience about 10,000 too. But yeah, I think just going for a 5-man push is probably a good choice for them, since they do have this Aegis on the Bristleback. It's not getting much better. Tinker now back up with a full mana pool and ready to go. They are going to commit to the high ground. Finally, we do have the Medallion applied positively to the Bristleback, currently sitting at almost 40 armor, 38 to be exact, and his physical damage reduction is absurd. Absolutely absurd. He's going to kill a melee Necronomicon unit, and although that's cute and all, I don't think he cares at all. He's just going to dive headlong in the enemy team. He's zoning everybody out on the enemy side into the fountain. And even though he might lose his life, the Mystic Flare hardly does anything. Force-staffed in, they take the melee barracks, and he doesn't even die. And he has the Aegis to boot. They really just want to kill this Bristleback. Can they even do it? That death word tickles. Look at that. He eventually loses that, but that was 3/4 of a death word channel that did maybe 100 damage. Maybe 200 damage. Either way, swap over the sidelines. They find themselves in Boker, but Zeal is finding herself into a very awkward corner. The Static Sword Kinetic Field combo on a Lulu, however. No BKB for you, and she's going to lose her life. Suggest coming in to clean house, and they will try to lasso Axe back into the well, but it's GG called out by Nidera and a disconnect to THD. Going to come back and make this a draw, as a lot of the JDL series are. And It's going to be 1-1. Well played to both sides. They definitely do have the potential to take games off of each other on good days. And, well, look forward to seeing them throughout this series. As for me, I'm done for the night. Unfortunately, I'm going to be finished casting here on HeflaTV. If you like the casting you see here, even though I am a bit sniffly, you can follow us on HeflaTV on Twitch, Twitter, and on Facebook. And the VODs will be uploaded to youtube.com/HeflaMoke if you're interested in watching these games again. And me personally, I'm Grandis Fee, and you'll more often than not find me here. Thanks for watching, and hope to see you soon, but for now, that's going to be it.